safe space. We ain't never give a reason you should hide. Compile all your questions, we taking the quest. Join Tarsha on this journey to discover the rest. Go.
Back to another journey, another story. Before we get started, please go like, subscribe, and share. YouTube, Instagram, all the places. And then also go to Black Adoptees Meetup and follow that page on Instagram. And then go to blackadopteesmeetup.org and find out everything that we're doing. I'm just going to give a quick shout out before we even get started, because Black Adoptees Meetup is now officially worldwide, because the gentleman that I'm about to talk to now for the second time is coming to Black Adoptees Meetup from all the way across the pond. So if he can make it from across the pond, you can make it within the States. So with that being said, I don't know if you caught part one of David's story, but he's been here before. He's no stranger. And I am so excited to have him back for part two of his story. And he doesn't even know how I'm about to jump into this, but first I'll let him say hi.
Now you got me worried, Tarsha. Hi. It's all good. It's all good. Looking forward to it.
Well, welcome back. No, what I want to ask is, because the first time you were here, that was the first time that you had ever done anything like that. And what I mean is come onto a podcast and tell your story, your adoption story, correct?
Yeah, correct.
Okay. So I have a lot of first-time newbies. To explain to the people what that was like for you before we get into part two of your story. Because people come to me and they're like, they're nervous, they're excited, they don't know what to expect. So let the people know what that was like for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot, right? So it is for the people that, you know, those people that feel nervous, that it's a lot. And it's not because of the audience, because I don't think you're really, for me, I'm not really thinking about the audience consciously. But then it is about the audience, because underneath all of that, there's a whole load of people that, you know, interact in my space. And as a human, naturally, there are people that you want to feel good about, that you don't want to feel uncomfortable about it. But you got to balance that with being truthful. Primarily for me, I think for myself, I've done, I wouldn't say a lot of thinking, but there's certainly been some reflecting since part one in terms of what was it, you know, what was it about that felt good? You know, why was I nervous? Why was I, you know, because I'll be honest, I've done, you know, when I was a kid, teenager, I did a little bit of pirate radio. You know,
you did a lot as a kid. Stop trying to downplay. You were a whole genius. Go and listen to part one if you didn't. He's like, as a kid, I did a little bit. Okay.
Yeah, this is true. I probably lived a lot. I lived a lot in the mid stages of my teens through to probably my 30s.
Yes.
Yeah, but that whole pirate radio, I remember going on and sort of getting a real buzz off the idea that there were, you know, hundreds, maybe thousands of people listening.
Sure.
This was a different kind of feeling. You know, it was more of a small amount of people that I'm thinking about who will be listening. You know, namely those nearest and dearest.
So, did they listen?
Yeah.
And
I mean, in the main, really, do you know what I say? In the main, actually, yeah, in the main, really positive, like straight off the cuff, positive responses.
Okay.
Even where there weren't straight off the cuff positive responses, because you know us, right? We want that positive reinforcement all the time, straight away.
Right.
Even where there weren't, they gave me good cause for reflection. And actually, in some cases, just kind of said things that I was like, I don't know about that, but gave me the time In fact, let me give myself credit. I gave myself the time to kind of go, okay, why do you feel that way? And is it something that you feel you need to do something about, or actually, are you comfortable agreeing to disagree?
Mm,
Hmm.
that is a very mature conversation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I'm
Are you
saying.
comfortable agreeing to disagree?
Hmm.
Wow. So I'm glad they listened, and I'm glad it sounds like overall, everybody was okay. You said you did some self-reflecting. Can you talk about that a little bit? When speaking about those things that you talked about, was it triggering for you? I don't even know if that's the right word. Is triggering the right word, or what was
I
happening?
know what you mean, and so I know what you mean, so I can answer the question. I would say for me, probably not triggering, because I think I'm through the trigger. I'm through the trigger phase, you
Mm,
know. So yeah, I can't think of a word to describe it either. But trigger suggests that it's kind of, whereas they're more just, let's call them gentle nudges that might bring thoughts or reflections through at certain points
gentle
that I can deal
nudges.
with. Gentle nudges, yeah.
Okay. Okay. And that tells me, at least this is what I'm hearing, you're just at a place in your life and at a place within your own story that um you're comfortable with, or your healing journey or whatever. You're not on the other side of that, like you're where you're still trying to figure stuff out, and where you might have been, when you were much younger. You just seem to be in a different space. And the more and more I do this, I can totally tell once I have a conversation who's in that space and who's not in that space. Even though they want to come and tell the story, I can tell.
Yeah, I hear you. And I've heard some. Um, I- and yeah, everybody's got different pace, right? And I think
Sure.
what's been interesting for me is that I don't know whether I ever got into that place. It was almost like
Mm,
I missed that stop on the ride, because I wasn't conscious, as I said, of any of this stuff until, I was going to say till my daughter was born, but even after my daughter was born, I probably wasn't really conscious of any of this stuff until maybe 3, 4 years ago, really being conscious of it.
and seeing that makes a difference though, because you were a full grown adult,
Yeah,
like a real big age. And so,
thanks.
yeah.
Yeah,
And so you were not, I think that makes a difference when you're already, kind of in a mature place in life, just in general. So when this stuff starts to creep in, how you deal with it, I don't know. I think it might look a little different versus if you're 20
yeah,
doing all the things.
yeah. I dread to think what it would have been like if this had crept in when I was 20. I mean, yeah, that's a
Yeah.
whole, yeah. And I
Okay.
think as well, yeah, I was just going to say, I
No, go
think as
ahead.
well, at that big age, you've had enough mistakes, made enough mistakes that you've had to start getting comfortable with the idea that life's going to throw some stuff at you.
Yeah, yeah.
You're going to feel a certain way and
Sure.
you're going to have to deal with it.
Yeah. So I want to turn a corner because something that I wanted to get in after this was total afterthought for me. And you all are going to have to go back and listen to part one because what we're not doing is redoing part one. So I want you to get more into when you started cutting up in the streets because you glazed over it a little bit in your first conversation. We need the tea. How did you get there? And I want to talk about what David was doing in those streets and you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, so you're
Let's
talking
let's
about,
start there because inquiring minds need to know.
Yeah, well, no, listen, I think it's very relevant.
Yeah.
So we're talking about, and I mean, I think I said in part one that I was 10 or 11. What's interesting that actually I think I was probably 13, 14. Little bit
Either
of that is,
way.
yeah,
Either way.
I was young. I was
You're
young.
young.
So yeah, what was I doing and what was going on, I think is kind of your
Yeah.
question. Yeah. I,
First of
I
all,
was
tell the people what you were doing.
Yeah, okay. So, I mean, I went from being a model student, child genius, German O level, top of the class, you know, to, I, yeah, I mean, I definitely attended, like, there were less days that I was at college leading up to my GCSE exams in those 2 years than than I wasn't at college. So I was spending a lot of time just doing what I wanted, hanging around with friends. We call it skiving in the UK. I'm not sure what the
You call
um,
it
when you
say the
don't
word
go to
again?
school, skiving when you don't go to
Skiving.
school,
So
just not
skipping?
showing up. Skipping class.
Skipping
Um,
class.
yeah, and being a little entrepreneur, I was
Little
selling. You remember the old the tights. I was probably the only kid at that age who knew
time
about
out. Time
the
out.
tights.
Not the little entrepreneur.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We're not gonna graze over that. The little entrepreneur in the streets. Go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. Now I was spending a lot of time outside of the home because the home just kind of changed for me, and
Right.
that was a big factor. Like, it went from being super intensely safe, I guess. Um, you know, kind of like just the sort of level of intensely safe that actually kids want to break out from anyway. But instead of me having to struggle to break out from it, it just kind of broke around me. So I was just,
Yeah.
doing whatever I wanted. I was drinking, I was going to nightclubs.
How
Um,
does a 13, 14-year-old get into the nightclub in the UK? What does that look like?
well, I guess for starters, you only have to be 18 in the UK to get in.
But you weren't 18, so
No, but listen, I've spent a lot of time stateside, and you're like, you guys are a lot stricter on it. But I don't know if it's a cultural thing, but I feel like
okay.
door people in the UK are probably like, go on, so here you go. Whereas in the US, I mean, I've been in the US in my 30s and I've been refused entry because my passport doesn't show my height and weight. You know, so there's a different culture. But I
Yeah.
also was hanging out with older kids. So maybe on average, they were 1 or 2 years older, but I had some friends that were, 5, 6, 7 years older. And I'm going to say at this point as well, like they weren't they weren't leading me astray, kind of. Like these were good. I mean, he says talked about going into nightclubs, but these were good older kids who, we had a good relationship. It was almost like a sort of, calling it family would be too much, but definitely there was a kind of connection. And also, there were other kids that, maybe a year older than me that were going in. So I started probably at 13, 14. By the time 15 arrived, there were plenty of other 15-year-olds that were going into nightclubs in the UK.
And just for context, when you were out being this little entrepreneur, what were your parents? Because I know there's been a huge dynamic shift in the home. Is anybody checking for you, or is it because they're so into what was going on in the home, they just kind of left you to your own vices?
No, so they separated.
Right.
So that was the difference. So they separated. My dad went to live about 20 miles away, and you can see some of that on part one. But
Mm-hmm.
in fairness, he went to live 20 miles away. He probably, I think, I say by his own admission, he could have done more. My mum was still at home and kind of just trying to deal with the breakup.
The breakup.
So dad wasn't physically there. Mum wasn't spiritually there. So nobody was really checking up. And I guess, this is where child genius comes in, right? Because
Mom, hold on. Mom wasn't spiritually there and dad wasn't physically there. Wow. I've never heard it said like that. Everybody's checked out, basically.
Essentially, yes. Yeah, that's the truth of it. Like I spoke to a therapist about it, and she used the words that you were effectively orphaned again.
But what's so interesting is during this time anyway, well, let me not just assume. You've not correlated your adoption to any of this. You're just responding to what's going on, and everybody's checked out. So this is a response to that in this moment.
Yes.
So how long, and I know you touch on this, and the reason why I bring it back up is because, you said it in the first one, but you didn't dive in. And it was such an interesting fact to go, because you talked a lot about being a child prodigy. And then you were like, I was selling cigarettes. Wait, what? And whatever else you was out there selling at a young age. And then we just kind of moved on. So that's why I had to pull that back, because it's so interesting. And I think what makes it so dangerous is because you are so smart.
Maybe you're right there, because I could, I even the whole having the parents checking in, I was very smart at isolating myself. So, I would come back for a party, and I'd get my dad to drop me. So I'd go to my dad's in the daytime. I'd get him to drop me off in the evening. There would be no party, or if there was a party, it was at my mum's house and I was holding it. And that kind of went on for a while. And then I guess by the time I was like maybe 15, 16, probably 16, I think I'd got smart enough, and probably, if I look back now, angry enough inside that, and I wasn't displaying it, because that's again, that's not what smart people do, right? But angry enough inside that I could, I'd just say, almost create a sense of like, don't come and test me on this stuff. Coupled with the fact that we're Brits, in that time, so we don't need a second invitation to kind of go, all right, then we're not gonna push that one. And of course, as you say, everybody was still trying to deal with their own their own troubles from it.
Are you angry? Why are you angry? Do you even know why you're angry?
Not at that time. I hadn't really thought about it until I just said it. Then this is why I love this. It gets down to some of those feelings, but on reflection, I know why I was angry, because I felt abandoned. I felt as though I was having to do stuff on my own. And I was doing a lot of stuff on my own as well. I was thinking after the first session that something else that I was doing, which I find interesting now, was I was listening to music of, let's call it, my culture. So I was sitting in my bedroom and I would listen to like Buju Banton, Cutty Ranks, Michael Prophet, yeah. And I mean, as you did, and I'd kind of, I'd try to work some of the words, and that lasted for a little while, but I wasn't with people of that culture. What's been really interesting is that in like the last 10 years, as I have more friends and some relationships as well, we can sit in the car and be like, yeah, we're vibes into some Beres Hammond or something, and I'm going, oh, this is kind of crazy to me that I was listening to, and I found it in my childhood all by myself. But that sense of, I'm doing that sort of stuff on my own. I don't think it was a conscious thing, but I guess I probably started to realize how different I was. And I think I said in part one, I probably had just got used to being different because,
I was getting ready to say, because you came out the gate different, Mister. Let's read this newspaper at how
yeah,
2, 3,
true.
yeah, 2, yeah, and and again I go back to my point, because now not only are you extremely smart and street smart, that's dangerous, and 15, 16, like you said, don't give anybody a reason.
Mm,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I get that. You probably didn't. I'm sure at 15, so you don't see it like that, but that's what it was. Yeah.
Well, this is where I think it's interesting because this is where I think it starts to overlay on the adoption. So I don't necessarily think that being adopted and, obviously the trauma of relinquishment and everything that goes with it, and then the transracial adoptee, and I don't think that was I don't think it was a single factor or primary factor in terms of determining who I am, where I've ended up now. And again, this is the big age, right, that you can look back with a bit more years and go, yeah, there's a lot of factors, you know. But I think that overlaid then with the separation of my mum and dad at that
Right.
sort of really definitive age, and at a time when life was changing anyway. I was going from being a little kid to a young man, and essentially that happened overnight. And I think I might have said in part one, but my friend who lived opposite, you know, observed it and played it back to me when we were out recently having a drink, as we do, in terms of just how I went from the kid that was at home indoors doing his homework, super obedient, to being the most popular kid in town. Now that's and I'm not saying that to brag. That those were his words, but that's I wasn't doing it, and I didn't realise I was popular. I mean, that was one of the things from the podcast actually. It was really nice, but I obviously then, as you say, went to right survival mode. Got to use my smarts and my street smarts, and so I was popular, and I was friends with everybody, from the kids that were well behaved, that were very what we call sort of, straight laced, through to, I mean, the wildest. Like they were all my. I could yeah, I could flex with all of them.
You did right. Because you have that chameleon spirit. Because that's
I
what you
love so.
got used to doing.
I think
Coming
I
from
had to
this,
as well.
yeah, coming from this broken situation, coupled with this adoption issues that you don't even know you have yet.
Mm.
I gotta fit in. I gotta be a chameleon. I gotta quote unquote. I gotta people please. All that is coming in, and it's amazing how that stuff creeps up, and you don't know where it comes from. That's my testimony. I was dealing with stuff. I just thought it was who I was. This is what I do.
Mm. And this is it, right? That we call people pleasing the chameleon. It's almost, you orient yourself by the external factors, and so what do I need to do in this situation? How do I need to adapt? The consequence then is that you become less aware of the internal factor and who you are. And so for me, when I say doing the first part was for me probably more than anything else, it
Mm,
was almost that being brave and going, do you know what? I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do my best to tell the truth as I see it. Now, obviously, my street smarts and my what and everything else at my age meant that I was walking a fine tightrope in terms of thinking, oh, how did I describe that? Is that going to upset? But ultimately, when it came to those sort of split second decisions in part one, I was
mhm.
going, just do it, Dave. If people don't like it, people don't like it. That's
Yeah,
all right. It's your thing, and that's
that's
a
what I
big
was
thing
getting
for
ready to say.
me.
It's your truth. Yeah, absolutely.
Mm,
My eye. It's your truth, and I think that's a place that we as adoptees have a hard time dealing with sometimes because we, not everybody, but there's a lot of it. We don't want to hurt feelings. Um, we're sensitive to that, but sometimes it just kind of is what it is, and sometimes it really doesn't have anything to do with anybody else. It's just like that's my perception. That's how I felt. That's how, that's what I was going through. So I get that.
you get it.
You told me there was, and it's escaping me right now, but there was another piece that you wanted to speak about. Oh, it's escaping me right now. I should have wrote it down.
There's a there's a piece about, I suppose, linking into the, listening to, my reggae, my dancehall, and some
I
of the
love
future music choices as well.
it.
Yeah, listen, yeah, but trying to find my, I don't know, not really needing to find a tribe, or not having that feeling until I
Mm,
had kids. Um, and then kind of pivoting really strongly. And I think, having kids was the thing that started to, I suppose touched on it last time, but started to awaken me as an emotional being. That's crazy, right? But
no, it doesn't. It
it's
doesn't
true.
sound crazy at all. Because think about it. You were in straight survival mode for the most part.
Yeah, I was in survival mode till I was, wow, yeah, I was in survival mode probably until my daughter was like 3 or 4 years old, maybe even older. Um,
What made you snap out of it, other than the birth of your daughter? But
I
is
don't
was
think,
it? Go ahead.
yeah, I don't think it was even the birth of my daughter, because so my daughter was born, and I wasn't in a relationship with her mum. I don't know if I touched on this, but her mum lived in London. I lived in Manchester. Like you couldn't actually choose two big cities further apart in the UK.
It's funny you say that because I was about to ask, what was that relationship like? Because you seem like you're struggling with relationships at this point.
Yeah, in terms of the relationship with her mum.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, being honest about it, so it wasn't a relationship. It was a delightful accident, and there wasn't an attempt to develop a relationship. And I think, part of that was me being in survival mode. Part of it was
Sure.
probably just being sensible and going, like, we don't know each other. This isn't a TV show where we go, oh, we've had a baby. Let's move in and
Mm,
everything will be fine ever after. Although, as I say that, I'm conscious that there's a little part of my hardwiredness through adoption and then the divorce and stuff that equally makes me go, well, it ain't going to be like that anyway. So I'm pragmatic, which doesn't make for great
mm.
relationships. But um, I travelled down from Manchester to London every other weekend with see my daughter, but the relationship with her mum wasn't great. So when my daughter was, I could say about 12 months, then her mum tried to stop me having contact with her. Um, and I had to go to court, and I had to fight through the courts representing myself. And that took about, well, it took over a year. And
Did you just say you represented yourself?
of course I did.
Of course you did.
Well, listen, I got a solicitor involved at the start, and then I realised how incredibly expensive this was going to be. In fact, the solicitor said to me as well, "Look, this is," but yeah,
Oh, you are a unicorn. I just want you to know that. Go
Yeah, representing myself. So yeah, I mean, it was funny actually. I think it could work in your favour, but there was a story when I went into the courtroom in one of the early sessions and went, oh, there's a table and seat here with a pen and paper. This is great. I'll just sit. This is perfect. And then the court clerk came in and went, you can't sit there. That's where the judge sits. But anyway, right. So I represented myself. The reason that I think I was still in survival mode then was that
Yeah,
that was a lot.
sure.
There was a lot being thrown at me. So, it's an adversarial process, right? I don't want to kind of call her mum out on it because we're both in our own places. But for me, it was like I would go and we'd have the contact that was supervised. And it was clear that Ellen and I had a real strong bond. The observer would come away and go, yeah, I can totally see this. Like, we're going to recommend contact, overnight contact. And then the supervisor would go and see her mum, and her mum would go, she doesn't even recognise her. And then the supervisor would go, oh, God, she doesn't recognise her. Let's just put it off for another 6 months. So it's a really frustrating situation. And to do that, given that at this time my daughter was living in Newcastle, which is, if you plotted a triangle, have a look on
Okay.
Google Maps. It's like the three furthest away places in the UK. So I was having to drive up and down to court, etc. So that was just survival for me. Again, just kind of drawing on those skills, resilience, and probably also the ability to kind of compartmentalize and lock up my emotions a little bit. Because yeah, if I think about it now as a more emotional being, like, it gets me just thinking about it now. Like, I feel sad for myself back then in terms of, oh God, you're going to get me. Like, the emotional level that I yeah, like, ooh, it's a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot. What?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I hear you processing as you're talking.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've gone
Mm-hmm.
to an emotional level now.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, I hear it.
you got
Yeah.
me.
Um,
Ooh.
what? Oh, you need a moment? I hear you.
I'm okay. We can keep going. Okay.
Um, and this is for the people that are listening because this is why I love doing this because you are helping somebody. What begins to unlock for you that says either I got to change or something's not right or something outside of the birth of your daughter, something inside, there's something that makes you go, okay, something's off. Do you remember what that was or what that looked like for you?
Mm, that's a great question. I think the honest answer is that I don't. I can give a little bit of sort of, I suppose, theory with the benefit of hindsight. But I went into a relationship when my daughter was 3, so not long after I'd got the contact.
Hold on, hold on. Put a pin in that. Hold on.
Hmm.
Backtrack for me a little bit. Before you get into this relationship when your daughter is 3, how are you with relationships?
Oh, I mean, I'm run away all the time. Like,
Okay.
yeah, I mean, I'd be great at running away. Yeah, I mean,
Okay. Okay. So,
yeah,
all right. That's that adoption stuff, but you didn't know.
yeah.
Right. Okay. So your daughter is 3 and you decide to get into another relationship. And what happens?
Well, I must have had a different mindset on it because the point when I would have normally run away,
Which was
I
what?
stayed.
What is that point
As
look like?
soon as it started feeling serious. So if I look back
Mm,
prior, there's, and I don't know if any of the exes will be watching, but or listen, but there's a real pattern of, when things get serious, when things could have, when I'm at that point where I could have gone all in, you know, like, and I didn't realize at the time, but in some of those relationships where actually I could have gone all in. So it was me running away from myself, but also they were all in. Like at that point,
And it was too
I'm
much
like,
for you. Nope,
too much.
not
Yeah.
doing it. Nope, I'm out.
And I never did it as well. And this is the interesting thing I think for me is that I never did that on the basis of, finding somebody else, being
Mhm,
unfaithful. Like
mhm.
it was always just I gotta run.
Yeah, I can't do this. This is too much. I thank you. I had fun while it lasted, and now I'm moving on to the next.
Yeah, well, not
Not
even on to
even
the
to
next,
the next, but
just moving away.
just
Like
moving
I'm
away.
you know what it is? I'm moving back to isolation.
Yes.
That's safe.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Let me get someplace where it's safe because my central nervous system can't take this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So something happens with this relationship and you start to move a little different.
Yeah.
How did
Com-
talk about that?
yeah,
Oh, you are
completely
helping
different.
somebody. You are helping somebody. Keep talking.
Yeah, well, I hope so. Yeah, completely different. So, and it wasn't conscious, right? I, I guess part of it was maybe that I made different choices in those split seconds. And I think, do you know what it was? Actually, I opened myself up to just being bit like being loved. Um, and that was with, I mean, I talk about taking it to extreme. So this lady had at the time two like tween age daughters, so just coming up to teens daughters.
Mhm.
And I can remember like people kind of being like, "Oh, Dave, like you're going all in there, are you? This is like,
Different for you. Wow.
And but that experience of just kind of building that yeah, being loved by partner and by the partner's kids.
Now, at this point, we're still not at a point where you're dealing with your adoption.
No,
You're just moving different.
yeah, but it happened quite quickly afterwards because that
Hmm.
kind of environment, and then obviously bringing my daughter into it in that sense. Oh, so this is what family is. This is what family building is. And again, this is hindsight, right? This was
Yeah,
all going on under the surface. I think for me
sure.
was then like, oh, and so then I started wondering, well, my what about my birth mum? And it was driven primarily by the desire to understand my medical record for my daughter.
And that's
But
usually where it starts for a lot of people.
yeah,
Yeah.
but to your point in terms of like what was I doing differently from a relationship perspective, there was definitely something. I could have sat there and gone, yeah, it's all about the medical records. But the way that I approached it, just I don't know, almost a sense of like I was more peaceful than I and again, this wasn't surface. This is under the surface. So,
Under the
like when I
surface,
said when I
sure.
was 16, like I had anger, but nobody. There'll be people who listen to this from my childhood who know me who would just be like, "What? He was the happiest kid." Like,
Yeah.
because there were people who listened to the first part who would responded and were like, "I just remember you as like the happiest, friendliest guy."
I could see
And I'm
that.
like, I remember myself as a little, I can't say the word, but like
You
just,
say whatever you want. Yes, you can.
oh, well, I'd say it. I just remember myself as a little arsehole. Like, those were the words that like, yeah, just bolshy little, yeah.
Isn't that something how you perceived your own self versus how the world was perceiving you?
Oh, that part one has woken me up to that completely because I decided to put the podcast onto Facebook. That was a big decision for me because I was like, yeah, do you know what? I'm just going to open it up to people, and I think I
Mm,
even put it on and changed the settings so that everyone instead of just friends could see, just in case there was somebody out there who might benefit from hearing. I was amazed, like I think there were like 60, 70 people took the time to comment and had listened. It'd blow my mind, Tasha. Like I'm like, and really commented. Like there were some people that I couldn't remember. I was like, so I get we were at school together, or you knew me when I was a tip, but I don't remember you.
what? Okay, we're not friends on Facebook. You have to friend me on Facebook because I need to see that.
Honestly, it was something else. It really overwhelmed me emotionally. I was just like, my perception of who I was
Wow.
and how people saw me
Two
versus their
different
perception
things because they had no idea.
couldn't be further from that. Yeah, and that still happens now. That still happens. Like I'm like I. So I think since we last spoke, I went and did a little surfing weekend in Morocco. It's like a little solo adventurous thing, where you meet up with other people, and so they're all random people, of different ages, etc. And
Okay.
couples. And we hung out with these people and like shared accommodation. And then on the second or third night, there was a young girl, she's like mid-20s, who was part of our little group. And we're all walking down to the beach together, and she went just as she was talking, she went, "Dave, are you always this popular?" And the way she said it, right, it
Yes, he
wasn't like that.
is.
She had this lovely smile, like it was genuine. And I remember just being taken aback by that and going,
It's the
this
same
is your
thing.
self-perception again. Like you think that you've been a bit of a standoff yeah. And this, the reason I mention it, as you'll understand, is that this then comes back to the hardwiring of the adoption, overlaid then with the timing and nature of my parents' breakup,
Right.
that has just led to me going, I'm on my own in this world. And if you think you're on your own in this world, then there's an underlying piece that you're saying to yourself on some level. And I'm on my own for a reason, because I'm nearly 50 now. I know that people generally are on their own. So you then do that calculation of, well, there's got to be something about me. And I guess to your point, at some level, I've probably been doing that for a lot longer than I realised.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Okay, I want you to get back to the relationship and how you were moving differently. Um, because a lot of adoptees, they deal with that too. But there's at some point there was this awakening, and I know that you did eventually go to therapy. And between having gone to therapy, and I'm loving that you have taken a lot of time to reflect on that first episode. It seemed to it woke something up in you that you didn't even know was there, or made you think
Yeah.
about things. And I'm loving this because you have no idea how many people they want to come on the show. They are scared, but it's so therapeutic. It's so therapeutic when you just talk. So
Yeah.
get back into you, Dave, digging into that self. And I know a lot of this is hindsight. Nothing, you're not going through it in the moment and like, oh, being intentional. So a lot of this is hindsight, but just walk us through what that looked like for you,
So the relationship and
the
just how it,
relationship.
yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah. So, oh God, it's interesting actually. So I think there's a bit of living in the moment, right? But there's some moments that, and again, I'm talking and thinking, but as I think about it now, I'm like, yeah, okay. So I I don't know if I'd moved into to her house, but I believe
Oh,
that's
wait a minute. You've moved in?
Well, I did. That's a factor in itself, actually, isn't it? Because if you think
Yeah.
about it, right, she's got two daughters at that age. Like, there's only going to be one person moving. So already, without even thinking about it, that relationship, as it starts, has a greater level of commitment than my previous relationships.
Absolutely. Which is huge for
From
somebody
me,
that, yeah.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah, I'm wowing with you. I'm like, gee, this we're discovering this together. Um, yeah, wow. So I guess that's a factor, and then I move, and I don't even know whether I've moved in, but I would obviously spend more time at hers. There would two come to mind as well.
Was your toothbrush at her house?
Yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
you moved in.
But I remember a time when I was there, and it was relatively early on, and her dad came round. I don't know if it was the first time that I'd met him, but it was quite early, and I think it was during the day. She wasn't there, and he said, "Hey, do you want to come to ours for some lunch? To mine and my wife for some lunch?" And I went, "Yeah, okay then." But I can remember, like, that's one of those little moments when almost for a split second the world slowed down, and there was like that, if it was a play, like, "Do you want to go?"
Right.
Say no. Because the old me would have been like, "Ah, no, you're okay."
Mm-mm. The old you never would have moved in.
Well, yeah, the old me
Well,
would have never,
you wouldn't
yeah,
even been
it wouldn't
there.
have started, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I went, and I had a lovely little lunch with him and his wife. This is, my girlfriend's mum and dad. And again, with hindsight, that sense of family and being accepted, being, I don't know, I guess, like, loved. It, it kind of was an extra piece to that relationship. So I'm not saying that I wasn't loved by, because obviously I was
No, I
loved
understand
by,
exactly what you're saying. Yeah.
it was suddenly like, oh, there's a whole new dimension to relationships that I didn't really.
You
Yeah,
just never took the time to stick around and find out
I just
because you
wasn't open
couldn't.
to it, was I? No, I wasn't open to the yes. Because
Just weren't open
again,
to
with
it.
hindsight, I remember a girlfriend at uni who, I went out with for quite a while by uni standards. I remember going and visiting her in the holidays, and she'd come down and visit me. Went to visit her. A lovely family, like really, really close. They used to sing and dance together. And I remember going up there, and I remember being in that environment, and they were lovely to me. Looking back, it was an incredibly warm environment, but I felt incredibly uncomfortable.
Uncomfortable. Fish out of
Wasn't ready
water.
for that.
No, it was too much. Way too much.
So there, when the difference, if you went, like, to your point, was that this relationship, I said yes to it, and for some reason, I guess, time and just kind of, eh, not not just following the same pattern, actually, because it would have been dead easy to go, well, I'm not saying yes to it because I'm not the person who says yes to it. By
Right.
breaking that pattern and just going, hey, just give it a go, I found something that I would have never known about. And that's a big part of my philosophy anyway. Just, I do try and be emotionally brave, even though I don't necessarily think that I do I don't, yeah, like, I don't think I do a great job of being emotional, but I do
Emotionally
try.
brave. Emotionally brave. Did you ever have a conversation in this relationship with this young woman about your adoption?
Well, yes, because it was during this relationship that I found my birth mum and started the
Okay.
relationship.
Okay. So
So
this is okay. It's this relationship.
yeah.
Okay. Now, if you want to hear about him finding his mom, you got to go back to the other. We not doing that this time. He did that already. But we didn't get this side of the coin. Yeah, we didn't get this side of the coin. What kind of support was she for you in all of that?
Oh, that's a great question. A stability. And this is the bit where I would say it wasn't just her, it was her and what she represented. So her, the two girls, her parents,
Oh, her parents knew what was going on as well?
to an extent. Like, I don't hide, and they came. My birth mum came up to visit with one of my
Okay.
birth sisters and some of the kids. Um, so they were where they were stability. And actually, before we moved in, I can remember them coming across. So this young lady coming across to my place with her daughters, and we went and met my birth mum, and I went and did a tandem skydive. And then we went back
Talk
up to
about
my
that.
place. Yeah. So
Yes.
they were all there.
Okay,
They weren't
okay.
doing anything other than being there. Like, I wasn't having in-depth conversations with them because I wasn't aware that I was doing something big. I was
Ah,
just
that
doing
makes
it.
total sense. That makes total sense. So for the people that are listening that are not adopted, but you may find yourself in a space with someone that's going, they're finding their people. I love that you just said she was just stability. She was just there. Sometimes that is all you need to do is just be there
Mm.
and know, you know, read the room, if you will. And it sounds like she did a good job at reading the room.
Yeah, she was just great. They were just grounded, and they had that family stability in a way. Nobody's perfect, right? But they had that
Sure.
family stability. Like, they had a tradition of going on holiday to the same place. I mean, she lived around the corner from her mum and dad. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So it was just stability was there. But yeah, it wasn't a conscious. As I say, if you'd asked me then, I was still just doing this because I wanted to know my health records, and then, oh well, we've started relationships, we might as well carry on. You
Sure.
know what I mean? Like, I was downplaying it.
Sure. Sure. I could totally see you downplaying. That's a running theme for you. Downplaying.
Yeah, yeah.
so yeah, I can see you. At what point do you snap out of it, if you will, and truly understand the big thing that you really did by doing that whole search and reunion thing? When does the awakening?
Sadly, not until my birth mother died.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Mm. And you did
and it's
talk
sad,
about
isn't it? Because, yeah, you get the different pieces of people's story and how you interplay with it. And I suppose, again, those things that maybe I downplay in my mind, you get bits of evidence that go, yeah, maybe you can't downplay that.
not at all. Not at all. So you have the awakening. When I can't I think you did touch on this in the first one, but remind me again, at what point do you decide to go to therapy?
Wow. I Midway through the relationship that we've just been talking about,
Mm-hmm.
um, as much at that point because of some relationship difficulties.
Okay.
So I was staying with my dad and his wife for a week because we were having a difficult time.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad's wife said, maybe you should go and have a chat with this guy. And to this day, I'll never know how she had the intuition, but it was like, I went and had a chat with this guy, and he was incredible. And that started. I was open to therapy anyway. Like there was a little bit that was given when I went to find my birth mother, etc., etc. But
See, and the person that you were prior, at least to me, you don't come off as that type of person that, at least at that point, would have gone to, as you just said, went to go have a chat with anybody.
yeah, that's true. Actually, that's fair. That's fair.
So
Yeah,
you had definitely moved into another space where you were like, you know what, I'm gonna go do this. That's incredible that you even got there because you live behind that brick wall. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
And good luck breaking it down or climbing over it because Dave is not letting you.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I think? I think if I hadn't had that fight for my daughter, and the emotional, I think that
Mm.
just kind of, it didn't break me emotionally, but it kind of did break me down. Like, you just saw how I got when we talked about it then, right? Like earlier,
Yeah,
it
yeah, yeah.
just, like that was like the marinade. Do you know what I mean? So all of a sudden, I wasn't so tough anymore. Like it was, and obviously you
Oof.
come out of the back of that emotional upheaval, and you've got like the contact. Like I can, like the first night of overnight contact. Oh my gosh! I
Mm.
mean, just after fighting for that long, and at times thinking that you're not going to get it because,
Yeah.
and of course thinking you're not going to get it with the background of being an
S-
adoptee who, stuff can get taken away, all that.
Let me tell you what I'm hearing.
Yeah,
You had a whole experience, had nothing to do with your adoption, but something had to happen to wake you up emotionally. Now you're not aware that it's happening. You're not, we're not all deep, and that's just what it took for you to kind of start that thing that you were burying, for you to start peeking out from behind that brick wall. But maybe it's not so scary over there. Maybe I can come out just to put a toe in the water and see what happens. But it opened up so much more that you never even knew that it was going to open. And that is incredible to me. And again, all hindsight, all hindsight. But the things that sometimes we just got to go through stuff and we don't know why we're going through stuff. And then when we go through stuff, we're like, oh, that's why I had to go through that, because now look where I am. Because imagine if you never had to go through that.
yeah. Imagine if, yeah, like would I, yeah, totally. And
I
this is the
don't know,
thing, isn't it?
Dave. I don't know, because you still be downplaying, reading the newspaper at 2.
Yeah,
Like that's what everybody's doing.
you're damn right, because it is now. I'm in this zone with, like I have my my little son, and I'm in this place where I'm like, I'm good at this. Like, and right, for me, not downplaying, like I'm good at this. That's a big deal. Like, and I
Yeah.
can go, like, I'm really good at this, and I believe I'm good at it.
Hmm.
Which is why I'm sat here talking to you, and I got the baby monitor next to me, and we're doing like, do you know what I mean? But it's that journey of getting there
Yeah.
has been. It started with something. I like how you talked about, peeking out from that brick wall. I Yeah, maybe I'm downplaying it, but it feels more like somebody just removed the wall, and I was just going, oh, right, I'm
You're like,
exposed
oh,
now. I better get on with
exposed.
it.
Wow. It's such a journey. And um what I want you to close with, unless there's something else you want to tell the people, because I have loved this conversation. Because I'm telling you, you're helping somebody, because so many people struggle with coming from behind the brick wall because they are afraid. And you've done it, and I'm sure you're still healing and a work in progress. So we're never just gonna say, "Oh, he's arrived," but you're so much further along than you once upon a time were. So before I ask my final question, let me just, is there anything else you want to tell the people from your thoughts about the first show, like all the thinking that you've been doing?
Yeah, there is. Thank you. So the first show, like I say, was about me or for me because it was me breaking out. It was again me being emotionally brave, right? It was that sense of oh God, I don't want to look behind that wall. And when I get that feeling of I don't want to look behind that wall, I
Hold on. I have
know.
to say this real quick. Put a pin in that real quick. Family, let me just tell you how emotionally brave he was. We had never met. He contacted me and I was like, cool, let's do this tomorrow. He was like, wait, what? It literally happened just like that.
Yeah, you should post the email train because it is hilarious. It was like, "Oh, you mean like we'll talk
You mean
tomorrow
we'll talk?
and like do some
No, no,
planning and give
no,
me a
no,
chance to opt out?" And
no, no, that's not what I mean at all. I mean, let's go. Go
but
ahead.
another one of those things, right? You've got a choice. We've always got a choice, yes or no. And I just think on that emotional level, when something's going, it's scary. I'm kind of like, yeah, do you know what? You probably need to push on with it. And that was the thing with part one. This part is still scary, but it's different because I'm now wanting to or hoping that somehow somebody out there who, like me, was just going, I just want to consume, I just want to hear a bit, I just want to hear some different perspectives. I don't even know what I want to do with it.
Mm.
Can then listen to some of this. And there's two things that I'd like to happen. One is that they take something away from this that subconsciously or consciously goes, yeah, I can do it. And two is that it gets them comfortable with the idea that just listen and they listen to others because there's so many other voices out there that they don't have to be the same as you. They don't have to feel the same at first glance, but
Mm.
there's probably something that's similarities because we're all humans. So there's a different sort of sense of, I suppose, nerves for me with this one in the sense that weirdly, I want to get it right more because, yeah, I just want to, yeah, like people to be able to listen and go, yeah, I get that. Like he explained that in a way that I understand and I can understand it and interpret it for myself.
The fact that I don't even know if I have a last question. I think that's a mic drop moment because everything that you've said, your journey is incredible. And I am not going to downplay that. And I'm not going to let you downplay it either, sir. The fact that you're coming over to meet us in person, that's huge. And the more I'm learning about you, that's super huge. Huge.
Well, like a lot of people, we're contradictions, right? But you, yeah, I think I'd said to you, and I don't know if I'd said it on air. Like I listen to, I try and listen to the universe more. I mean, God, I can't actually believe I just said that. We edit that out, please. But it's my, so it's gonna, it'll be on my birthday. So I was like, okay, that's telling you something.
Yeah.
So I can ask for some birthday. And then I was like, well, let me just look at the flight. So again, this thing, right, of
It just
like we try
all
and
fell
put
in
barriers
line.
in the way. So I go, well, let me just look at the flights because it's And then some flights came through at like a third of the normal price. I'm just like, oh gosh. Feels like I might have to
Listen,
do this.
me and Kathy and I are ecstatic. We can't wait to meet you in person that weekend. And we're going to celebrate your birthday. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're gonna have a good celebration. No,
We're
I'm
going to
really
have a
looking
good
forward to it.
time. We're going to have a great time. I want to thank you for coming on a second time. As I've said throughout this whole thing, I know you're going to help somebody. The way you talk about yourself and your story is incredible. And like I said a few minutes ago, I am not going to let you downplay that, because the things that you've done is huge. And you've done some things that people strive to do. Some people don't even know they're striving to do it. But coming out from behind that brick wall is huge. So thank you.
I thank you right back, because you know, it takes somebody to get the hand and drag it out. So you know, appreciate
Yeah, all
it.
you got to do is say, yep, I'll see you tomorrow. That's it. Hang on, don't leave me. And on that note, bye, family.
Journey on. You need a pie with the good? Oh yeah, with the store.